David, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and chat to me. I really appreciate it. How's things, man? Are you good?
All good. Yes. Good. Like, I don't know when this is going to go live, but we had the football last night, so woo! England through to the quarters, the final rather.
To the finals, absolutely. Did you enjoy the match? Did you watch it?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. Went round to mate's house for a barbecue, and it was.
You've done it like you've gone full British to barbecue and football. It's a dream scenario for most.
Absolutely.
Like
Had to behave myself with the beers, obviously.
Nice, yeah. I mean, yeah. We'll by the time this goes out, we'll probably know what's happened. What's your prediction?
Yeah. They played well last night. It's it could it could go either way. Spain have obviously been playing very well, so we just have to see if it falls in our favour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, listen. This is as much as we might like it to be. This is not a football podcast. We're going to be talking all about gaming, and where I usually start. I obviously talk to a lot of streamers, content creators, gamers, all sorts of things. Where I usually start is as close to the beginning as we can get. So, what is your first memory of gaming? Where did you first get into gaming? How did that start out for you?
Wow, the Commodore 64. In fact, I've got it down there. It's still here. And then I've progressed to the Commodore Amiga, and with the 0.5 megabyte upgrade, it had a full megabyte in there.
Should we explain to young people what a megabyte is? They're probably not aware, are they?
It's a very small image to them these days, isn't it? Plenty of games on there, plenty of too much time on the Amiga, and then progressed through the various PlayStations and Xboxes, etc. And back in the day, it was, as much as it's awesome that everyone can stream and play together online, back in the day, it was all shoot round your mate's house and all hang out together and take turns and sit in the same room. Fond memories of that. And then, throughout all time, it's various consoles, obviously a bit of PC gaming as well. Until today when we have the PS5.
So you would you describe yourself, again, a regular question that I ask people who come on the podcast. Was there a point where you made a decision between, it seems to be Xbox and PlayStation. I know there's a whole bunch of consoles that come before that. Is it Xbox, PlayStation, or PC for you? Like, where did you land on that, or have you mixed between different consoles?
I've always mixed, but I'd say that predominantly PlayStation. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why was that? Was that a decision that you made, or was that just kind of like one of the first consoles that you had and you just stuck along with that, or how did that happen?
The latter, basically. Yeah. Had the first PlayStation and just progressed from there, and you get an emotional attachment to certain games, and you want to continue playing those at the next level, the next version, etc.
What are the games for you then that I think I asked this question on TikTok recently? Is what are the games that is there any games that like changed you or kind of changed your opinion on gaming? Like what were the games that you think had the biggest impact on you that you wanted to just continue playing?
Back in the day, Tony Hawk's had a big impact on me.
Yeah.
Gran Turismo, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Cool Borders.
Right.
Not Cool Borders, SSX rather. But then obviously loads of platform games, and even going back to the Commodore Amiga when Dragon's Lair came out. Those graphics were just like, because it was like a cartoon rather than like pixels moving around. It was just like mind blowing, and
I wonder, like, at what point we'll get that next wow moment in terms of like that feels like a big leap, because obviously you went from kind of pixel art games to more kind of cartoony stuff, and then we've gone to PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, where you look at it at the time and you thought, wow, this is great, this is realistic. And now you look at kind of modern games on PlayStation 5, the latest Xbox, PC games, and it is, the cinematic scenes specifically are truly unbelievable. You look at games like Red Dead Redemption 2,
Yeah.
which is old now. It's been around for a while. I wonder what do you think will be the next thing? Do you think that's going to be in the VR space? Do you think it's going to be do you think we're going to see a big leap like that again, or do you think it's going to be more kind of iterative and progressive as you go through the next generations?
The VR's definitely got potential to just take it to the next level.
Yeah.
But one of the things I sometimes think, and this doesn't go across the board, obviously, but some games focus too much on the realism, the graphics, and slip up a little bit on the gameplay. And that's where all the so many indie developers are coming in and saying, like, it hasn't got to be the most incredible thing. It's the gameplay that's key. But it's a balance. It's a balance. It's I don't know what the.
Do you think maybe we'll think like a revert, like you say, it feels like some of the indie studios are kind of not rebelling against that, but going, actually the foundations of why we love games is the story, is the dialogue, is the and the graphics and stuff are secondary. I've played a couple of games that are recently that are like real throwbacks, where it's like text adventures where you're kind of typing in where you go and what you do, and there's visual representation of what's happening on the screen, but it's kind of a text adventure. And I was surprised by how engrossed I got into it, like how quickly, because I just kind of assumed that I wouldn't like it. But it's nice to go figure out, okay, what are the text commands that work? What are the text commands that don't work? All of that thing is. And presumably that's something you were fairly familiar with some of those kind of early computers, the kind of Commodore and those kind of things. There's a lot of that stuff going on.
Yeah, exactly. But touching on that, it's such a good thing because the accessibility side of gaming is just on such a good trajectory at the moment, and the text-based games is a big part of that for so many gamers, and taking that to the next level and making, like you say, involving, engross, and really enjoyable and playable is a great thing.
So what are the games that are kind of top of your list at the moment, in terms of if you're going to jump on the PS5 for a little bit and play something? What are you playing at the moment? I know you're a very busy guy, so there's probably limited time for actual gaming these days, but if you're going to spend an hour on the PS5, what are you playing?
It's a tough one. I am so out of touch. It's depressing how out of touch I am. I just, just don't have the time. So rarely do I get to play at the moment. It's not right. I try to persuade myself it's research. It's part of the job,
So talk to me a little bit about because obviously you've been in gaming as a fan for many years, but I suppose one of the interesting reasons to talk to you is that you've built a business that is fundamentally in that gaming space. So
yes,
is this the first business that you've created that's in the gaming space?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay,
yeah.
So we'll get onto what that business is in a minute and talk about that in a second, but I think so often people look at people who've created careers in the gaming space and it can feel slightly inaccessible. It can feel like it's for other people and not for people who just enjoy games, etc., etc.
Yep.
And the gaming industry itself is going through quite a tough time at the moment with studio closures, etc. Mm-hmm. So what was your life before you created a business in the gaming space? Like, what were you doing before you took that leap? And then we can talk a little bit about how you kind of came to get yourself into the gaming industry.
Yeah, so I studied product design back in the day, many moons ago, but then I kind of stumbled into a world of doing a little bit of product design, but predominantly designing retail displays, retail environments, exhibition spaces, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But for a lot of big brands, the likes of towards the end of before I jumped ship, there was a lot of stuff I was doing for Estee Lauder, L'Oreal, Burberry, a lot of big brands. But it kept me on my toes. It is every day is a different day, so your mind is constantly thinking. But at the same time, I've always had lots of ideas, and most of my ideas get pushed aside. They get risk assessed and don't make it anywhere because of whatever reason. But this is one of the ideas that I've had in my head for years, and it just wouldn't go away. It wouldn't go away. And it's taken quite a long time to get to where we are. But it's. I always knew I wanted to do something like this, and it took a lot of guts and the right situation to make it a reality.
Okay, so tell me what is the idea that you had, and how did it originally present itself? Like, what was the thing that made you go, "This is a great idea"? Why hasn't this been done?
If I'm on, it's a tough one because it goes back so far. It's almost a little bit tricky to pinpoint when it originated. But if I'm honest with myself, it started with Gran Turismo, and playing the game and being in those situations where it's all getting a bit tense, your hands are getting slippy, you're racing, and you fall off at the worst possible time. And that was kind of the original idea, how I could prevent that, create something that allowed me to control the controller with more ease, more security, more control, more flow, and do it in a way that was simple. And that was the challenge, most challenging element of it, that it was accessible as such. And then about 5 years ago, I started having the beginning notes of where we are now. And it's taken a lot of sketching, a lot of development. About 3 years ago, we started first stage prototypes, and then again, so many prototypes, so much development to get the concept right, and and now we're where we are.
So what you've created is like, how would you describe it? Like, if you were to describe to the audience, or maybe even show if you've got some on you there, but like what is it that you've actually created that allows you to do the things that you just described, like, you know, the not slipping off the joysticks, having better control of your controller. What is it that you've created, and how does that work?
So one of our little strap lines is thumb soldiers are for your thumbs, like sneaks are for your feets.
Right.
Because we use the same thumbsticks for Call of Duty as we do for Minecraft, or we use the same thumbsticks for Gran Turismo as we do for Sonic the Hedgehog. And it doesn't seem right. It seems crazy when you think about it. Yeah. When there's different footwear, different trainers, different number of things for different activities that you do in the real world, but yet those thumbsticks essentially remain the same. So we have designed, this ain't going to come out very well, various attachments to play games and interact with your controller in different ways for different games. So that's the racer kit. Then we have the step-up kit. So that's predominantly for your first-person shoot 'em up. So you've got the low level for your agility, you're running around, your action areas. But then when you want precision, you can just instantly step up, and you've got so much more range, so much range for sniping, creeping, that kind of thing. But it's all
does that help me when I'm hiding in a toilet? That's usually where I am in Call of Duty.
Absolutely. I'm not sure it helps you out, but but the whole idea is so all the attachments just pop off, and there's a simple a knuckle, as we call it, which it's just it's a name, it's a personality for. I'm not very good at this.
It's all right.
Sideways thing.
This is basically just like a little clip that sits on the controller itself.
Absolutely. So that pops on with no tools, no disassembly, nothing. This is a standard controller in every sense.
Yeah.
The knuckle pops on, clips on, and then that's in there. That's going nowhere. That is locked in place. Yeah. And then you just take your soldiers, as we call them, pop them on, and then you can change your interaction with your controller depending on what game you're playing.
And presumably there's like a whole host of variations you can have, like combining different soldiers, as you call them, to create different configurations of a controller, right?
Absolutely. So we've launched with 8 SKUs, 8 sets initially, because we didn't want to overwhelm the market. We didn't want to overwhelm ourselves with having too much to do logistically. So as much as we've got performance attachments for racing, for Call of Duty, for various other games, we've also got a range for accessibility. So we've got the Shroom, which is essentially an oversized thumbstick that allows you, again, to interact with the controller in new and exciting ways. Much the same as the joystick. So even people in hospital with an intravenous strip in their hand, they can control it in new ways. So we're getting incredible feedback from various customers with disabilities ranging from arthritis to cerebral palsy, and that was a key element of what we're all about. But then moving forward, we're only limited by our imagination and the imagination of the community that we want to bring on board as to what's next, what else can we do, where can we take this, what we can even create bespoke elements in some instances for specialised circumstances. We can do limited edition pieces, and we can just keep going and going depending on what our community wants ultimately.
So you said you had this initial idea five years ago, or even before that. It was So originally it was quite a personal project in terms of like, I'm annoyed by this, these specific situations.
Yep.
And then it's expanded out into why we're using the same configuration for every scenario.
Yep.
At what point did you start to consider the accessibility things? Because you mentioned that earlier. There's seems to be a more significant focus now on accessibility within games and how differently able people can play games.
Yep.
And there's some solutions out there. There's everything from kind of fully modular controllers to custom controllers, to your kind of solution, which is an add-on. Like, at what point did you start to consider, actually, this isn't just for the average gamer that's just trying to get more precision, or the average gamer that's trying to play Gran Turismo and doesn't want to slip off the. At what point did you go, this has more uses than maybe I originally thought of?
As soon as I had the epiphany for the knuckle element, the clip element. Before that, it was still a little bit airy-fairy, but basically in my past careers and education and stuff like that, I've designed various things for the accessibility market. So as soon as I started thinking about this seriously and come up with the idea about the docking clip and the interchangeable elements, it was immediate. It was just knowing that it could be used in so many ways, and yeah.
And is that something, because I suppose if I talk for myself personally, there's going to be a huge amount of naivety I've got in terms of what needs different gamers have, and I'm very much dependent on other people, other content creators that are bringing that stuff more to the forefront to understand what different requirements they may have for different games. Like how much research were you having to do to understand? Because you described like a lot of different attachments there and a lot of different use cases for those things. In terms of whether you're using your hand, your wrist, your elbow, your chin, whether you need to be able to control the controller with limited arm movement. There's a lot of different scenarios here, and I suppose there's as many different scenarios as there are different people in terms of how they might want to use the controller. Were you having to go out and talk to a lot of different people to understand what their needs were, and then developing different attachments and products based on the fact that there might be more people like that? How did you go about that research process?
In the early days, it was me designing what I thought would be required, because everything was very hush-hush. I was talking to very few people. Even when I first told my parents what I was actually doing, I made them sign an NDA. I know it's shocking, but there was 3 people that knew what I was actually doing. The missus, eventually my parents, and a friend that was helping me out quite a lot. You just had to play everything so close to my chest. And so, initially it was ideas that I thought would potentially work. But then as soon as I could speak a little bit more openly to people, when the patent was in the system and stuff like that, I still had to obviously get NDA signed. Then I got involved, I got in touch with the likes of Special Effect. And they're they're the UK's biggest gaming charity for gamers with disabilities. And they loved what we was doing. And we presented them with various options for their feedback, so they could talk with their members to get feedback as to what works, what doesn't work, what we could tweak, and invaluable. But then there was various other organisations, from local groups to the Everyone Can in Manchester. There was a range of we wanted to get as much feedback and information as we possibly could. But then at the same time, we put together display boxes, presentation boxes to give to. We was trying to find people that we didn't know, they didn't know us, that gamed, but they had no idea what they were going to be receiving, to get just independent product feedback as to what worked. And we sent out as many of those kits as we possibly could. And it was invaluable, setting up feedback forms and speaking to most of them, to be fair, and just getting as much feedback as we possibly could to take the development to the next stage. So we had everyone from semi-pro gamers to gamers with disabilities, combining that with the charities that were helping out. It just it all worked out and just gave us the little tweaks that was required to get it as succinct for everyone's needs as we possibly could.
And how much did things change for you between the stage of you going, right, we've got these these beta products, I suppose, these kind of initial prototypes, when you got the feedback? Was there anything that came up where you're like, I just hadn't even considered that this might be a problem that needs to be solved, or extra things that you created? Or was it more just minor tweaks to the initial stuff that you'd had?
More just minor tweaks. Some product ranges just got scrapped. They weren't really appreciated. They were mostly the products that were purely cosmetic, rather than actually
they didn't
aid in
solve
the way
an actual problem. They just they just made things look different, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. But I don't think there was any huge changes to any of them. To be fair, studs was one of the biggest surprises, to be honest, because we always thought that the customer would want it with a rubberized finish.
Right.
But we sent out the options for various textures, various finishes, and the feedback not unanimously, but a high percentage of the feedback was they liked the texturized but harder wearing finish, because the thumb nests within the stud grips, and you can actually feel the inputs that you're putting into the controller. It's almost like having a D-pad for your thumbstick, so you can feel the angles you're hitting, and it just your thumb nests in within the middle of it. It doesn't wear out as a lot of other thumb extenders might wear out.
It's very politically done there. Very, very well done. I like that. No naming and shaming here. I think what he's saying there, guys, just to be clear, is the rest of them are shit. Right? Let's be honest. So you talked about the circumstances of. There's always a difficult moment, right, when you're creating your own business or you're creating your own product. First of all, physical product development scares the shit out of me. I've spent my life growing up in, my whole career prior to this, and even within this, has been creating digital things, right? Which are great because they don't really exist in the real world, and they're quite easy to change quite quickly. I worked in marketing and advertising on the digital side, and everything's very quickly changed. Print stuff and physical product development. First of all, there's a big outlay financially usually to get this stuff into development, and secondly, if you create 10,000 of something physically and it's not right, that was always my fear, is that you create something and it wouldn't be right, and then that's it. There's nothing you can do with that. You just have 10,000 of a thing that don't work. So first thing I want to ask you is, what were the circumstances that finally made you go, I'm gonna give this business a go. I'm gonna make this thing and build this. Like, what was the thing that made you take a leap?
So I was working on the project for probably a year and a half, 2 years, weekends and evenings. It consumed my life whilst doing a 9 to 5, and it got to the point where I had to make a decision. There was no way I was going to get this into reality as a side hustle. It just wasn't going to work. So there was lots of discussions with me and the missus as to what we're going to do. Can we make this a reality? Going to have to try and get investment. Going to have to try and set it up as a whole real massive thing. And must be coming up. I'm so lost time at the moment. I don't know if it's 2 years ago or 3 years ago where I properly jumped ship and quit my comfortable 9 to 5 that I'd been doing for 10 years at that place, etc., etc., to give this its full focus. At the end of the day, like you say, there wasn't even doing that. It wasn't entirely committal at that point, because there was nothing real, there was nothing massively tangible. It was just giving it the time to get it to that to give it that next stage. And I swear, in the first month, it would have probably taken me a year to get that much work done in evenings and weekends, because it was constant. It wasn't getting home from work and having dinner, waking up, getting back on it, working till whatever time. It was just constant. And it's been that constant ever since. And we constantly, I'm going to say it again, frequently reviewed where we was at and the viability of what this was, and etc., etc. The development stage was huge, but once we had everything that was real and we could see the potential of it. And then once we sent it out, like sending it out to product testers was terrifying. It's like, what are they actually going to really think? But the feedback was incredible, and it's like, right, okay, let's just tell ourselves this is going to be an easy ride. Everything's going to go really smoothly. It's all going to be fine. It's going to just take off. And yeah, you have to be a little bit naive like that to take that next step. And it's, yeah.
You also got to have a healthy arrogance in your own ability to get things done, I think, and a healthy arrogance in your idea. And I mean that in the most positive way. I think much of my career I got through just by believing that I could do whatever it was that I needed to do.
Yeah. I think there's definitely an element of naivety, very mixed in there, but it's like, exactly as you say. If you think about it, you can do anything.
Yeah. So the again, it's an area that's completely foreign to me. The kind of physical product production, because presumably, you kind of mock up these things in multiple ways in kind of digital formats, and maybe you try and, I don't know what people are doing these days, but they're 3D printing stuff themselves in their home. What did that process look like for you? Are you making CADs of the product, and then how does that work? How do you actually get to the point where you go from, I've got this sketch and idea on a piece of paper, to here's the physical product, and then here's how we scale up production of that to create thousands of these products? Like, broadly, how does that process look?
Broadly, fortunately, it's having a lot of friends that believed in me. It's been truly humbling how many the help that I've had. It's been incredible, and it means a lot when you realise that people have belief in you, belief in your idea, belief in your product, and everything from I can do CAD, and I did a lot of CAD to get the concepts to a certain level. Yeah. But then taking it to the next level, friends helped me get there. Just helped me, and getting the prototypes made. Friends just helped me getting information about the production side of things, introductions, and because my friends were introducing me to these relevant people, it gave it the clout that it required to not be a thingy in the pan, whatever the phrase is.
Like a flash in the pan, like a pipe
exactly
dream.
Exactly, which got me speaking to the right people to be taken seriously and get it to become.
How much
a real
harder
thing.
do you think it would have been to get something into production had you not had those introductions? Because I wouldn't even know if you said to me, Charm, go and get this remote made. Yep. I wouldn't even know, I wouldn't even know what to Google. I don't even know what the process is called. Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you actually?
In so many situations, that is exactly it. You don't know what you need to ask to know how to discover it, and it's speaking to the right people. And there's people that I've spoke to that even now I know them, to try and find them, you wouldn't be able to find them. You only find them when you get introduced to them. So yeah,
and did you just find your way through that just kind of through cross paths and just like were you going to events and stuff, or were they just people you knew from your previous life? I suppose the question I'm asking is, like, I'm sure there are people out there who look to you and go, what an amazing thing to have created a product and to have brought it out into the world that's, that has the potential to have an impact on millions of people, right? And hopefully that is what is happening and what will happen. Other people might look at you and you might be the thing that says to them, I've had this idea, hopefully that isn't a direct copy of yours, David, but is, I've had this idea for this thing,
Yep.
whatever that might be, but I've just got no idea where to start. Like, what advice would you give to them? Because obviously they're not you. They didn't work where you worked before. They didn't necessarily have the connections in physical product production. Maybe they just got a great idea. Like, where do they go from there?
I'm stumped with that one. See, I think the other thing is doing what I've done. You probably could do it. You need a little bit of knowledge about injection molding and rapid prototyping and various different production methods and marketing as well, and all sorts of little things like that, where I suppose my life has been a little bit surrounded by it, so I've got a head start. But you've got to have a little bit of that knowledge. But I think the key thing is, a lot of people would, you can find people to help, but without getting ripped off, without getting taken down the wrong path, without falling flat on your face in so many situations.
It's tough.
It's tough. We've had issues along those lines, and we've been helped massively. So I don't want to put people off, because it can be done. It can be done. We all watch don't all watch Dragons Den, but you see people with no experience managing to make it work. But it's all about the cost effectiveness, the taking it in the right direction, and getting things done right, basically.
And were you reaching out to other people that had created products in the space before and talking to them about the processes they'd been through, or was it purely all just, it happened to be that you already had connections in many of these places, or connections that could introduce you to other people?
It depends where we look at the journey, because, like I say, so much of the journey was hush hush. Until the patents were properly filed, we just couldn't risk the concept being released in any way, shape, or form. But sorry, I think I've slipped away from the question a little bit there.
Yeah, no, I mean it's that's fine. So it was the crux of the patent, the knuckle that you talked about. Is that the kind of crux of, we've got these peripherals that are attached via this mechanism? Is that kind of, was that because you said that was like the revelation for the idea for you? Is presumably you'd had this idea to make, broadly, to make controllers a bit more modular than just this static thing that we're using. And then at some point, you'd obviously been thinking about how is it that I get to that point? And maybe you had lots of different ideas of here's 10 different ways you could do that, or maybe you even thought about custom modular controllers. I don't know. And then eventually you went, actually, this all I need is, if I can get the peripherals to attach to the controller with this knuckle. Was that the crux of? That's really the kind of diamond of the idea. That's the crux of it. Is that right?
It's definitely part of it. Yeah, part of the key element, because the brief that I set myself from the very early days is it had to be simple, it had to be cost effective, it had to be no tools or disassembly, because I'm quite handy. I will do most things, but I wouldn't be comfortable taking a controller apart, and I don't think the vast majority of people out there would be comfortable taking a controller apart. So it had to, like, no tools, no disassembly, simple, not limit the range of the controller in any way, had to lock on so that it didn't pop off. And these were the key elements of the brief that I set myself. So yeah, and then taking it from there. So that was the element of the knuckle that was critical. And then the soldiers had to be able to easily fit, easily interchange, be positioned, but then have a range of adjustability, so that you don't have to take the whole thing off to get it back on in the right place. You've got that basically, once that's on, You can have it there if you want, or you can twist it across to that position. Yeah, I think I'm going off on a bit of a tangent again.
No, you're good, man. Tangents is what we love. You're obviously working with hardware here that's from the biggest corporations in the gaming industry. You've got Microsoft and Xbox, you've got Sony and PlayStation, then you've got a whole bunch of more custom controllers, things like Scuff and all those guys. Mm-hmm. What do you think their view of what you're doing is? Do you think they're some of these big corporations get a bit kind of tetchy when you start messing with their core hardware? How do you think, what do you think their opinion of what you're doing and the product is? Are they happy about it? Are they annoyed about it? Have you heard from them in any way, shape, or form?
Not closely. I like to think that they're definitely watching. They're definitely watching, and I like to think they say the same thing that we hear all the time.
Yeah.
How has this never been done before? Why has no one thought about this? Going to the product development team. Why have you not done this? Why have you not presented this to us? That's what I like to think.
Yeah. What's the I mean, first of all, how in terms of where you are as a business now, what's a key focus for you as a business now? What is it you're trying to focus on now? Because obviously you've got a range of products out, and new product development is always going to be part of the roadmap. But now, with the product range that you've got, what's the big focus for you?
Get the message out there. One of our biggest problems is because we are the first company, the first people in the world doing what we're doing. Mm-hmm. No one's looking for us.
Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily know that there's a problem to be solved there, or they don't know that there's a solution to the problem.
Exactly. Yeah. So we need to make the right connections, get the right messaging across, and it's all about that. We're trying to make as many connections with content creators and streamers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But even opening those doors can be so tough, so tough. It's just perseverance. It really is. It's like even with the step up, mm-hmm. to us for so long, we just assumed people would see it and automatically realise that's the low level for agility, mm-hmm. and that's the upper level for precision.
Yeah.
We're just blown away by how many people just don't see it.
Yeah.
And then when they do see it, they're like, wow, that's incredible. Of course. Yeah. But they just didn't realise the upper level was the precision element, or vice versa. Some people are saying, well, that's a stupidly high area for your thumbstick. It's like, but you can go down to the lower level. So it's messaging is key. And the connections in the world of getting that message out there. So that's a big area of where we're trying to focus at the moment. We've got loads of ideas for product development, but mm-hmm. that can wait for the time being. It's getting the awareness of where we are now to the masses.
And do you think the products that you got at the moment are they good for any kind of gamer, or is it more like it's niche down to, you should buy this if you're a COD gamer, you should buy this if you're a racing gamer, or is it do you think there's usability for everything in there?
This is another complication to our messaging that we didn't foresee, because it is the whole set is so personalisable, if that is a real word. I'm not sure it is.
It's close enough, mate. It's
close
We're
enough.
going to use it.
Like Step Up was originally designed for first-person shoot-'ems, but the amount of people that use it for Formula F1, because you've got so much more range. Yeah. The same as the Racer Kit is designed predominantly for racing, and it's the assistance it brings is incredible. People are also using it for COD and all sorts of different games because of that thumb security. Because you cannot fall once your thumb's in there. You can be as frantic as you want, and you stay in control, or you can just use such light control.
Yeah.
And then we've got studs, which was originally designed for FIFA to get your angles and hit everything as you want. But again, this is proving to be an all-rounder where people are using it for FIFA, F1, COD, because the grip is so incredible. And then we've got a lot of our customers. Maybe I've not even shown the rock and roller one. It's like got a ridge down the middle, and then you can position your thumb either side for the rock and the roll, as we call it, and mixing it up and having one thumbstick on one and then another on the other one, and it's like, right, that setup works incredibly for such and such game, but then if I change that and put these two on for this game, that works incredibly for this game. And it's makes the messaging even more complicated than we originally thought.
Yeah, I think so. It's a difficult challenge. I mean, I think what people want is they want to know what the outcomes are, not the what is it? Is it better aim? Is it more controlled? Is it I think it's all of those things. They're looking for a solution. People buy scuff controllers, for example, because you get the back paddles on it or whatever, or people buy the PlayStation, the Pro controllers, because you get more kind of, what are the things that you get over and above the functions and features, I think is how I always look at it. But it's an exciting time for you. Because you're kind of out in the world now, and I should say thank you for sending me over some products. I'm definitely going to be testing those out, and producing some content on those. So I appreciate that. But I think the reason to chat to you today was because I think first of all what you've done is inspiring, right? You've left a 9 to 5 and very quickly discovered, as a lot of people do that start their own business, that you've gone from a 9 to 5 to probably a 9 to 9, if
and
not
some.
longer, and some. I think I said when I first became a full-time content creator, it's like I went from quite a cushy position where I had teams of people to help me out doing stuff, to doing everything on my own and working 15, 16-hour days where I'd previously been working 7. It's tough. So it's inspiring to see you do that, and you're doing it in the gaming space, which is incredible as well. What's been the biggest challenge for you since you started this full time? Is there anything that was unexpected? Not talking necessarily about the kind of the physical process of creating a product, but just like, what's the biggest sacrifice been for you since you've gone full time?
The biggest sacrifice, holidays, without a shadow of a doubt. But the for a while, the toughest thing was when we first launched, and people we were doing social advertising and stuff, and people were seeing what we're doing. People with no understanding of what the product was, and no appreciation, no time to give it any real thought, was shooting us down and saying it's a toxic world. We know it is. We know it's a toxic industry. We know the internet is quite a toxic place, and I had tried to prepare myself for it, but there was just so many just stupid things being said, and it people out on the outside don't realise how you've worked you put everything into this, and you just come along and say, well, that's stupid because of this. It's like, yeah, but what about that? What about that? What about that? What about that? And it was tough. I've definitely got a thicker skin these days, but
sometimes I think you can have a thick skin, and sometimes something will just hit you in the wrong way at the wrong time, and it just it cuts you deeper than you'd like to admit. I think a lot of the time with internet comments.
Definitely, yeah.
Well, listen, man, it's exciting. I think the products look great, and I think there's two sides to this that really intrigue me. One is the fact that you've created something that every gamer can use to improve elements of their gameplay, or to be able to adapt the controller that's more suited to their needs, and the other side of it is just the accessibility side, which again, I'm fairly naive on in terms of the requirements that many different people have for different requirements, but hopefully that's coming more to the forefront in the gaming industry. But you've created a product that's really going to have a huge impact on people who have different abilities and are able to do and need to do things in different ways to the way a standard controller has been created. So that's an amazing thing to. It must be a nice thing to think that you to know that you're having an impact on people who maybe haven't had the same access to gaming as people who are fully able, I guess.
Well, absolutely. It's both sides, but some of the accessibility side of things, people are clearly more open to being kind. And I regularly get emails directly into my inbox just thanking us. Thanking us and explaining the issues that were stopping certain gamers being able to play how they wanted to play. And they're like, this has just changed everything for me. And it's just like, it was beyond expectation, some of the things that's being fed back. But then much the same, the feedback we get from the non-accessibility side, where people are saying, it's just I'm just enjoying gaming so much better. And it's like you say, it's not necessarily just for the pro gamers or for the really serious gamers. It's just for everyone, just to help them out a little bit. It's like with the racer kit, if it could help, if it makes you race 1% better, 5% better, 10% better, it's a win at whatever grade. And the same with all of them. If it just helps a little bit and just lets you enjoy it more and hit the headshots, hit the apexes, hit this, it's a win. And when people feed that back, it's incredible.
Amazing, man. Well, listen, I'm excited to see what's next, and I'm excited to see your business grow. And I think it's always great to see independent people making it work in an industry that is so saturated with huge companies. Yeah,
the big boys.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see the David versus Goliath story and for it to play out that way. Yeah, I like it. So if people want to find out more about the product and the business, where do they go to, David?
Well, we're on all the socials. Fortunately, when I named the company Thumb Soldiers, which it resonated with me in so many ways, we were able to get everything. So everything from .co.uk to .com, just Thumb Soldiers, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everything is just Thumb Soldiers. So that's a big win.
Very big win. Yeah. The amount of people who name their company and then forget to go and grab all the socials and the .coms and the .co.uk's is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Thumb Soldiers everything. So we're thumbsoldiers.com. We're Thumb Soldiers on all the socials. Check us out. So we're predominantly Instagram's really good for an overview of both accessibility and non-accessibility and just general banter and stuff. Whereas the business LinkedIn page is more focused on the accessibility side. Right. So depending on what you're really after, TikTok at the moment is just very similar to what we're doing on Instagram. We need to develop these, separate them a little bit as we get more time.
Yes, time is always the one.
Yes.
But listen, man, best of luck over the coming months and years, and I'm excited to see you grow, excited to see new products, and excited to see more people using this stuff. I'm excited to get my hands in it myself. And like you say, time is a thing. I'm excited to actually unbox this stuff and get my hands in it. I really appreciate you taking the time, and thank you for
likewise.
Thank you for showing people that it's possible, because sometimes it seems impossible. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks
Keep
a lot.
Fighting. Buddy. Cheers.
Speak to you soon.
Catch you later. Turn up.